I've switched to Emacs. This is like one of the editors that I haven't used seriously, because when I tried it for the first time, all the key bindings were absolutely non-essential for me. So I went back to using Vim basically. But most recently, I've been feeling that I wanted to try something that has the potential to be better than Vim, and there is only Emacs. And I tried Emacs, and I got familiar with the Emacs org mode, which is, by the way, I was also busy like writing documentation, and I wanted to have something that made my documentation writing task easier, and that's when Emacs org mode came up. And the more I learned about org mode, the more I was convinced that org mode is like the best way, like the right way to do a lot of things. But it took me a while to configure my Emacs to be more usable. And something that really helped with doing that is the Doom mod. Doom mod is a combination of the Emacs Evil mod, which makes Emacs work more like Vim. But it's also a lot more than that. Doom mod has very good package management, very easy configuration. You can easily configure packages. You can easily upgrade things. So it makes a lot of things easier, and it basically makes life easier with Emacs to the point where I would actually want to use Emacs. And so far, I've been very happy with it. So in this video, I'm gonna go over the configuration that I've done for Emacs in addition to the Doom mod. If you haven't checked out the Doom mod, go ahead and check out the Doom mod. It's really great. But out of the box, I found that it doesn't really work as I would expect it to work. So I made a few customizations. And in Emacs, customizations are actually easier to do than in Vim, because in Emacs, everything is a function of a function of a function of a function, because everything is Lisp. Let's have a look at some of the configuration files. I'm going to go ahead and open a file called Doom config, which is my main configuration file, which is the private configuration file in the Doom mod concept of things. So this is all the things that I've added to the configuration to make working with Emacs easier. And I'm going to go over all of these things, because I think a lot of them are very important to configure if you're a Vim user, or if you're, well, primarily if you're a Vim user. Those things makes the work a lot easier. So first of all, I have installed the irony mode for the completion. In C, for example, irony mode has very good bindings for completion. I don't know if it's going to actually work right now because I don't have the tags file here, but it's kind of, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. When it does work, it actually works very well. It works. It can show the oxygen documentation, a lot of different things. So it's basically like the code completion that you would see in like Eclipse or Visual Studio. So very good to have. Then let's see how to set up compile options. This is basically standard stuff that was for irony mode. Then we have the evil package. Let's see, my phone is ringing. Who is ringing me? Okay, I'm gonna check that out a bit later. So next is the evil. Let's see, evil next error. Go to previous compilation errors. Right. So this binding is here in order to easily go to compilation errors. And actually, I want to change directories. I'm gonna go to data. I should have been more prepared for this video, actually. let's go to software. Let's go to the flying Berman stuff, and let's go here like mg. And then let's see if we can make this. Yeah. So one of the annoying things with Emacs that I found is that compilation always takes place in the directory where the file is. So it's using the buffer local directory basically. So when compiling for the first time, you have to go to the top level and then you have to do compile. And then, but fortunately, when you do compile the second time, when you do recompile, then you don't have to be in the top level directory. Then it works just fine. But for the first time, it has to be done like this. And I don't think I have updated this code base yet to my latest changes, but maybe it will work. Maybe it will compile and succeed. Actually, if it does compile and succeed, I would have to add some errors so I could show how this works. Compiling. Let's see. So this is how compilation works. Very similar to how it works in other editors. But the real power comes from the bindings and how you can call any function in the editor and get documentation for that function. And also the cleanliness of the Lisp language. Like this is very clean code. You don't see this kind of stuff in Vim. In Vim, the Vim script is a horrible scripting language that is not very well designed. But this is a lot better. So I had a compilation succeed with no errors, so I could add some errors. And let's just add some errors and do a remake. So recompilation is done using the recompile command. And then we have some errors. So now I can press this bracket E and then go to the error. So that's working fine. That is a binding that is not present by default. So I had to do that. And I think it's very useful. And the forward bracket also has, it's kind of used like a next modifier. So there's a lot of other commands that bind to this forward bracket. And they basically mean some kind of next function, like, for example, next fly spell error, or next visible heading, or next whatever. And I like this kind of binding very much, and I like the fact that it pops up the dialog showing me what methods are bound to other keys, which are which can come next. It's very intuitive. It's very easy to learn. And now that we are in this file, we can pop up the SR speed bar. And we can go to buffer mode, and I can go back to my config EL, which I have here. So also very useful. I've installed the SR speed bar as a package afterwards, after installing the Doom mod, and I think it helps get an overview over the open files and kind of always have it on the side somewhere, on the side of a window. Usually I do like this. So I close this and I close this, and then I split this in half, and then I split this vertically, and then I can have this speed bar here. So let's see. One of the things that I don't like is the fact that sometimes, like now I clicked something, I don't know what key I pressed, but now it's searching for some information in all the Lisp files, and now it's not working. It hung, like, yeah. Signature, evil next line, whatever. It found all the occurrences of that or something. So I do that quite a lot when I'm using Emacs. Maybe that's because I'm not used to the bindings that are still sort of present, even though I have the Doom mod. I still have a lot of Emacs bindings underneath. So I kind of sometimes press keys and I don't really know what I pressed because I just do it automatically. And then I realize that something is wrong, like I've entered into some other mode, and then I have to press escape several times to get out of it. And I think the first time I started Emacs, I didn't actually know how to close it. And apparently it's like Control X C, that's how you close Emacs. Yeah. Anyway, so I like to put this SR speed bar here. And I press MX, and I can run any Lisp function, which is currently loaded. So SR speed bar open, and it's very nice to have it here. And I'll go to this configuration file. So this is where I bind this thing. And it's easy to find also which function to bind to, because you can just do like MX and then evil next. So there's like next line, next buffer, next close brace, next close parenthesis, next visual line, next arrow motion. Like, this is very nice. This kind of thing is very nice. I don't know if there's something like this in Vim. I haven't seen it. In Vim, things are a lot harder to do. Like, it's not. I don't think it's this easy. But I like this a lot. Next, I have the Neotree, and this is because I am used to using the Neotree in Vim. Which is this file browser here. But the Neotree, the Emacs version, comes with completely different bindings, which I had a lot of trouble using those bindings. Like R means like go up a line or something instead of refresh. So I reconfigured this Neotree, and it took me a while to figure out exactly how to bind things like this. Like if I have an M key, like for example in Vim, I would do MC. Let's see, MC. No, undefined. Are you kidding me? Is this not working? Okay, something happened. Something happened and screwed up my key map. Interesting. The last thing I did was actually move this in, so maybe I should move it out. And there's a lot of things like this, like, okay, I need to rebind this. I need to have a combination of keys, like M, and then I want to press M to move the file. Or actually, I think, let's see, MM. Yeah, okay. So I bound that one. I need to bind the C as well. I could bind the C to create as well. Right now I have A bound to create. And actually I'm going to move this back here. Let's see. Yeah. So that was okay. And eventually I found out that I had to create a key map. And I had to add keys to this key map. And then I had to use the evil define key for normal mode. And put it into the Neotree mode map, so that it's only available when it's a Neotree, when the window is a Neotree. And then I had to bind that to the key map, but in this case I don't have to put this apostrophe before the key map because it's not a function. And doing it this way actually make it work more like the Neotree in Vim. And I could press M and I get a help, a summary of the other bindings which are available for this modifier. So far so good. I was very happy when I figured out how to rebind those keys. And next I have this minor mode for disabling mouse. Even though I have this the Synaptics daemon running, which disables the mouse when I'm typing, it's still sometimes annoying to have the mouse. Like if I'm not typing and I just happen to tap the mouse, then I could switch to some other place in the editor. So I have this function to sometimes disable the mouse, whenever I need to do it. I found it on Stack Overflow, and it's working quite okay. Like, for example, right now I have the mouse, I could click in different places, but I could run this function, and this is defined as a minor mode, making it possible to disable it if you want to. So we have disable mouse mode. Mouse mode, disable mouse mode disabled. Okay, so now it's, let's see, disabled and disable mouse mode. Okay, so this one doesn't seem to be working. For some reason, it's not working. Disable mouse mode. It's supposed to be active by default, but it's not. Next is the org mode. And let's see what I did here. I added Babel tangle body hook preprocess apply macros. And I think this was because I was trying to make the macros appear in things like links or like URLs, because I couldn't make that work. For some reason, the macro preprocessor would only look at stuff that is visible and not, I'm not really sure what this does. I would have to look it up. Next is the speed bar, and I configured the speed bar to have these bindings, where I rebound the speed bar to work the same way as the Neotree browser, because it would be really annoying if I had to use different bindings in the speed bar from what I use in the Neotree. So I rebound this as well, and this one works in a similar way, but it has completely different bindings by default. And the buffer mode also sets the buffers as an initial expansion list, which means that it's not going to go back to file view whenever I open a new file or go somewhere else. It will stay in buffer mode, which is where I want it, because I already have the file view here. And there's like next, prev, edit, whatever, refresh as well. Smart parentheses. It took me a while to figure that out. By default, I have the smart parentheses, which are actually stupid parentheses, because what it means is that when you enter a parenthesis like this, then it would automatically let's enable this for a while, like just to see how annoying this is. Let's see, M shift, I think like this, yeah. Beginning of buffer. Let's see, can we copy that? And set this to true. And then we have the smart parentheses. The problem is that they don't always work. Like they only work in place. Like even if they work, they're completely useless because I'm still gonna type this other parenthesis. Like imagine I do something like that. Okay. Now, okay. And then all of this highlighting just makes things really annoying. But in org mode specifically, when you create links, like a link is basically enclosed in 2 layers of this parenthesis, then the org mode actually hides the parenthesis. So having this extra parenthesis actually means that if you enter, let's see like this. Let's assume we have something here, and then we want to like, oh, now it disappeared. Okay, and then we want to like enclose this. So now it works. Okay, now it worked. Now it actually worked. It didn't insert a new parenthesis. But sometimes it does insert a new parenthesis. Sometimes it just goes, oh, I want to insert a new parenthesis there. And then I have to delete the parenthesis. And so I disabled this completely. And I'm very glad I did, because now I don't even think about it. Let's see, M shift eval, and then I paste this -1. There we go. Next is indentation. I set this to basic, like for an indent tabs mode. I still have a little bit of trouble with like automatic indentation. For the most part, it does work, but like in let's see here, smart tabs. Maybe I should actually insinuate smart tabs into org mode as well, because in org mode I do have a little bit of trouble. Let's have a look at the documentation here. So no, this is not documentation. Where is documentation? There we go. In org mode, I really enjoy the fact that it does so many things automatically. For example, I can have links. I can link to a switch, and I can do like enter, and I go to this topic, and it's all text file, so it's completely portable. Like you can edit it anywhere, and you can do a lot of things. Even like you can have tasks here. So let's say I have a to-do. Let's say I have a to-do there. I can have a to-do item, like test, and then I can clock into that item. So I can go like cx in, and it creates a logbook, and it creates a time there. And I can do cx out to clock out, and I can edit this time to kind of get a report on this on the time I used on some task. And it's very easy to take some file from some other time management app, which is exactly what I did, and just translate it into org file, and then do reports based on this. This is just so much better. But this topic is for a completely different video. In terms of indentation, I find that sometimes things are very annoying. For example, right now it indents with tabs. Sometimes it indents with spaces. Sometimes it doesn't unindent at all. Like it goes back to the paragraph there. So it's sometimes I find the behavior of tabs and indentation in Emacs is a little bit off. I'm not really 100% happy with that. So it's very practical to be able to like kill a buffer with just Control K, for example. Next is Neotree. Yeah, this is for the Neotree, just to toggle the Neotree out of any other window. I have an alias here, forward evil word. Yeah, this is for the like stuff like when you do change. So CIW is supposed to change in a word. Without this, it will change just forward when I do CIW. With this setting, it actually changes the symbol, which is the full word, which is more in line with how VIM does it. And then we have the shell command on the region replace. This also took me like a lot of time to figure out. Like, how do I do simple stuff? Like, for example, in VIM, I could do like in VIM I could do select this, like let's see, I do like this, and then I can do like this. I select this, and then I do like column that, and then column T. Oh, let's see. Did I? Yeah. And I can just pipe the selected area through a bash command and get the output. In Emacs, I couldn't figure out how to do that, and this is actually not defined by default. So I found this piece of code somewhere on some internet forum, which implements this functionality and actually replaces the text, which let's see, which we have selected. So we can do like this, and then we can do select this and shell on region replace, shell command on region, column T, and it creates columns from them. So very very nice. And that's it basically for the bindings for now. Insert real tab. Yeah, like basic stuff. When I press a tab key, I want an actual tab. I don't want some kind of something else. Like I want a tab. Insert real tab character and electric pair preserve balance. This is something I just tried to set. I think when I had this parenthesis problem where I couldn't figure out why I would insert a parenthesis, I tried to do it by setting this to nil. That was before I figured out how to actually do it. And universal argument, I still haven't solved that, but luckily there is a way to exit the Vim mode by pressing a backslash, and then I can do like Control U, and that will be like a normal Emacs Control U. And this is useful if like recording macros. So if I have a macro and I want to run it multiple times, then I can use Control U to run it like 100 times, for example, which is very useful. And so far so good. I'm working on actually learning Emacs and getting better at it. I'm looking forward to exploring some of the more advanced functionality, coding some Lisp. I'm going to be reading a book on Lisp because Lisp is not it's not a language that I know very well. Like I can understand kind of what's going on, but I don't know all the details about Lisp. And I think Lisp is very nice. It's kind of it reminds me of the style that I used when I was coding JavaScript. When I would do it like in a functional way, just having callbacks and having closures and scope. That is kind of like things don't actually run in a sequence, but things run kind of in when something calls a callback, the callback can access. I don't know if it's actually possible in Emacs Lisp to have a callback access outside scope. I'm not entirely sure how scope works in Lisp even, but it seems to be very functional. It's like it uses a lot of functional concepts. It doesn't really use variables that much, and the syntax is extremely simple. Everything is a list, basically. Yeah. Okay. So that's it for this video, and I will be writing a bit more documentation, and when I'm done with documentation, I can move on to some other fun things to do.